Welcome to Get Organized at Work. I'm your host, Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt, healthcare leader, mom of three, and your go-to guide for ditching the chaos and taking control of your workday. This is the show where we turn overwhelming to-do lists into clear, actionable plans so you can crush your goals and show up as your best self at work and in your life. Whether you're here for strategies to stay ahead or systems to simplify your workday, you're in the right place. Let's get organized, have some fun, and make this year your best year in your career yet. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to Get Organized at Work podcast. I'm Kayla, I'm your host. And today we're going to be talking about what to do if you're feeling stagnant in your career. And I'm going to teach you how to fall back in love with your work. Of course, this episode is dropping on the Monday after Valentine's Day, but I just couldn't help myself. I was like, we got to keep love going. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I did want to mention, though, like I do always on these episodes, that we have the free podcast community called Get Organized at Work Podcast Community, where you can connect with other professionals and individuals who are trying to get organized at work. And the benefits include having all of my free templates inside the group. I'm constantly adding new things. I host regular live events. So we had our first one last in January at the end of the month on the 28th on project roadmaps and active project lists. And I'm working on scheduling one for this month. So I'm super excited about that. I also post the podcast episodes early for members as much as I can, usually on Sunday night. And then I have just fun content that I share throughout the week to kind of like inspire you or get you thinking, and just start sharing some of my thoughts about leadership and things that I just don't talk about as much on the podcast. So it just takes that conversation beyond. So if you want to join, it's in the link in the description or in the show notes. I can't wait to see you on the inside so you can meet me, talk to me. It's just a little bit more like one-on-one. All right, so let's get down into the episode about if you're feeling stagnant in your career, how do you fall back in love with your work? I wanted to share this because I know that it's winter in many places of the the earth right now, and it can be a depressing time. I live in Minnesota. Sometimes there's no sun. It's like when we're most vitamin D deficient, and you're kind of questioning all of your life choices, right? You're like, why do I live here? Also, like, kind of in that slump. It's really easy to get into a slump right now in wintertime. And every once in a while, I feel like most people go through this where they start to question their career choice, their job. Is it right for me? And I just wanted to share that if you feel stagnant, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to quit your job. Instead, you can take intentional steps to grow within your current role. So I want to give you 5 key strategies to bring that excitement back to your work. I also want to share that I'm not saying don't quit your job or don't go work somewhere else or don't go get other skills, other organizations. I think that's great. But not everyone has the luxury of doing that quickly, easily. A lot of people have families or they have loans, and it's just like there's some risk there, right? And so what if you could elevate the work that you already do and sort of lean back in and reignite that career? Not saying this is going to work for every job, but it's worked for me in the past when I felt stagnant. So I'm going to share some of the things that I've done, give you a little bit of insight about, why I did those things and how they came to be. I'm just going to preview the steps. First step is going to be, I'm going to talk about interviewing at other places. Step 2 is going to be talking about romanticizing your position. Step 3, I'm going to be talking about creating a vision for your role. Step 4, I'm going to be talking about creating projects that excite you and building a roadmap. And then step 5, I'm going to be talking about pitching this vision, this roadmap, what you see, to your leader. So let's get into it. Step 1, interview elsewhere to learn your value. So interviewing at other companies can be super eye-opening, even if you don't plan to leave your current role. Interviewing helps you assess your value in the market. You can learn what skills employers are looking for by looking at different job descriptions on LinkedIn or applying and then asking questions in the interview. And I think even the biggest thing that you can do in an interview is learn your skill gaps and your strengths. So what you can do then is take these skill gaps and develop them even more at your current role. Ask yourself like, oh, wow, what if I stayed at my current job, but took this skill gap that I have and build it into a strength
And how could I use that in my current role to really propel myself and my career? It can also just reinforce your strengths. Like you think you're good at something, but you're not quite sure. You interview and you get the vibe from the interviewer, the hiring leader, that this is the strength that is desired. It makes you feel good. You're like, okay, cool. I'm on to something. You can use these insights to refine your growth plan within your current role. What can you develop further? And what are you already excelling at? And I just want to share a personal story with you quickly. So, when I was technical specialist in the blood bank, this is like 2017, so like almost 10 years ago, I was sort of getting itchy in my current role. And this isn't like a secret. I have told people that I've interviewed at other places before. There was a quality, I can't even remember the title, but some sort of quality manager, quality specialist position available at one of the competing hospitals in the market. And I applied. Just, I didn't even know if I had all of the skills, but on paper, I was like, this looks kind of fun. And some of the perks was it was no weekends, no holidays. I didn't have any direct reports. And it was a chance for me to work with other departments and just like be in a different place. So that was really cool. So I interviewed, and it was a group interview. It was like, I think I had two interviews. I had one with the hiring manager, and then she called me back for a second interview, and it was a panel. And the interesting thing was, some people from my current organization had gone to this org. So it was like people that used to work where I was working were on the panel. So that was like, wow, okay, people have changed to this position or this new location. So it was really enticing. And I was excited about it. And it was going to be like a $10,000 raise. And it was really cool. And during the interview, they actually gave me a test, and I had to do Excel spreadsheet like calculations because this role was going to be like a lot of data management. So I went in there, took the test, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm a millennial. So I know how to like just kind of quickly find my way around things, even if I don't know how to use it, right? Like we were born with like, figure out this phone. Here's, don't read the instructions type of thing. And so I did really well on the quiz. She said I passed, but I knew that I had a skill gap there. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not really using Excel in my current job. And I have so many ideas now that I like tried this in the interview and realized like I need to learn more formulas. I need to learn more about pivot tables. Like this could take me to a whole level and like of efficiency, right? Of course, this is 10 years ago, so Excel sounds kind of like silly to think about because there's so many other like automations available now. But at the time, I was like, wow, this is a skill gap that I have that could really help me in my current job. I ended up going back to my current boss and was like, hey, I did interview somewhere else. I do have another offer, but here's the thing, I thought about it. I don't really want to leave. What I really want to do is refine some of these skills. I want more direction and like mentorship from you. I want to have direct reports. Like these are the things that I want to develop. And I learned that because of interviewing somewhere else. And I don't want to paint a target on my back. I just want to share that I'm like extra committed because I really am not ready to go. And I'm just excited though. And I really need your help, sort of helping me propel myself to the next level. So I like to think that interviewing elsewhere helped me actually get promoted and see what I had, and that the grass wasn't always greener on the other side. And then I was able to sort of ask for what I needed, which is really cool. So don't be afraid to interview. It never hurts. I mean, I've interviewed so many times over the last 10 years. I've never taken positions, but I've been offered jobs. And at the end of the day, it's all about like, are you ready to leave? And do you really not have what that other job is offering you? And maybe it's just a perspective shift. So I just encourage you to go see what your value is and what skill gaps you have and what strengths are reinforced in the interview. All right, step number two is romanticizing your current position. So visualizing what you wish your job looked like versus what it currently looks like. What you want to do is make sort of a list of like what you wish your job did and what you're currently doing. And what you can do is sort of identify areas of overlap. Like, how can you shift your focus toward tasks that energize you while you're minimizing the ones that drain you, right? Like, are there tasks you wish your job did? And you're like, oh, yeah, like I am doing that. So that's a positive, right? But then here's something that drains my energy that I wish I didn't have to do. Like, am I doing the right work? Or is this really what the position is intended to do at the end of the day? And if it's unclear because you've been stuck in the monotony of checking off your to-do list and like the day-to-day drag, what I would encourage you to do is write out the spirit of your role. I kind of have that written in quotes, the spirit of your role, instead of just listing your daily tasks. So the question you want to ask yourself is, what is the true purpose of your role? What impact is it intended to have? Right? So for an example, a manager's role isn't just about meetings and reports. It's about empowering the team to perform at their best, helping the team get results, removing barriers for the team, solving problems, strategizing, like all these cool things. Now, granted, that example is super general, but your job isn't just to check the box. And let's say a manager's job isn't just to sign off on time cards, right? Their job is to help grow and develop the people whose time cards they manage, right? So the time cards thing is a task, but the overarching like purpose of growth and development is the spirit of the role. So if you are getting stuck in these monotonous, draining daily tasks, I want you to take a step back and look at that spirit of the role and notice a mindset shift. Sometimes it's not the work itself that's draining, but it's how we perceive it. A small shift in perspective can make a huge difference. So here's another really good example. I, for the longest time, kept telling myself, like, I wish I had more flexibility. I wish I could choose my hours a little bit more. I wish that it would be okay if I dropped my kids off at like 8 o'clock and I didn't feel bad about it. Right. And then what I realized was like, wait a minute, Kayla, you are a manager and your job is to be there to support the team when they need you. I think it's going to be okay if you drop your kids off between 7:30 and 8 twice a week because you have all the information you need and everybody knows how to contact you. It's going to be fine. You don't need to be there at 6 o'clock when day shift gets there, right? Like you are not on the bench in the laboratory like you used to be. It is okay that you start later because guess what? Your meetings often go till 4 or 4:30. So what are you doing trying to be online and checking teams and all this stuff and making yourself feel guilty when you're trying to be present with your children? It's fine. So what I started to tell myself is like, you have flexibility. You have control. You can control how you communicate. Like it is okay. So sometimes we tell ourselves we don't have something that we actually do have. It's just a little bit of noticing and talking about that thing a little bit differently. I have so much flexibility. It's amazing. So, yeah, romanticize your position. Think about what is the spirit of your role. So, step 5 would be create a yearly and 5-year vision. So, what I want you to do is define your career values and align them with your long-term goals. So, this is really cool. You can use something like ChatGPT for this, where you want to think about, like, okay, what are the things that in my heart of hearts make me feel good about the work that I do? And how do those things, can I translate those things into written values? So then you can look back and sort of use those values to kind of be your pillars or your guiding post of the purpose of the work that you do. So let me say that in a different way. If one of your values is, let's say for me, I work in healthcare. One of my values is to make sure that, like, in whatever I do, our patients can have easy access to this care, right? So I have my master's in public health. So I'm obsessed with access to care and especially cancer patients. And so when I'm looking at like the testing we're doing and who it's for, one of the things I've started to switch on is a lens of, is this care accessible? Is it affordable? So as I'm bringing in new tests, I'm asking that question, like, does this thing align with the value that I have to make care accessible and affordable? And if it's an extremely expensive thing that I'm bringing in, I have to decide, like, is this Is the benefit of this going to outweigh the risk of it being too expensive or non-accessible? So that's just one example. Maybe you value freedom. And so maybe as a leader, one of the things you want to do is build a team culture that creates more autonomy for your leaders. So when you create a strategic vision of how you're going to show up and how your plans are going to be laid out and the projects you're going to have for your team, how can you instill freedom and autonomy as within everything that you do? When you articulate values, it becomes so much easier to reflect back on them and be like, okay, is the thing that I'm doing aligned with the value? Because at the end of the day, if you are feeling stuck and stagnant in your career, chances are you're feeling like a little bit icky about something, or you're like, ugh, this isn't quite aligning with what I'm passionate about and what I think is important. And there's going to be mission and vision and values of the organization you work for, especially if you don't have your own company, like if you're not an entrepreneur. And sometimes we realize that there is a clash in those values. And sometimes that clash is too big. And that's when I would suggest finding somewhere else to work so that you can, show up every day feeling aligned. But sometimes it's just like seeing how your values can translate into the company values. Like if you work for somewhere where you wholeheartedly believe in what they believe in, like it is easy to execute on your job because you're like, I am with you 100%. So block time off to reflect and plan and think about these values. You can ask your boss for a dedicated day or two to work on this. I would just let them know, like, it's not a luxury to block my calendar for this. It's an investment in my career, my growth. And if I can do this correctly, I'm going to have a plan for the entire year. And like, I'm going to go slow, take these couple days to move extremely fast. Like, once I have a plan, like, I know how to execute on that. And that is super exciting and empowering and just makes you want to show up every single day for your work. Now, once you have these values to create the vision and identify what excites you and like goals, start with the high level. Because in step 4, we're going to be talking about exciting projects, but I think high level would be buckets of areas you want to focus on. So, like I said, if one of my values is access to care, one of my long-term strategies might be to make the test menu that I can control as cheap as possible while maintaining quality. Like, how can I get my cost per test as low as possible while making sure that it's the best test we have? So it's about defining those values and then thinking about the buckets of work. You can kind of consider it like a portfolio. And I know this feels like very, like not very tangible, but that's what we're doing. We're creating a vision, we're strategizing. These aren't like hard goals at this point. This is more like in the next 5 years, I would like to make, this program renowned in our market. In the next 5 years to 1 year, I would love to have a better understanding of this XYZ process to then create projects to improve it. Right. So you can see that it's like sort of this is the direction that I would like to go because I can see how I can really elevate this role. I can elevate the program. I can elevate the team. Those are your guiding post questions. Like, how could I elevate this role, this team, this organization? So if you want to learn how to do more of that, I can definitely go into another episode on it. And I think that might be a really cool like webinar that we could do, like creating your career values and how to align them with your long-term goals. All right, like I said, step 4 is build a roadmap with exciting projects. So even though we're like excited about creating a yearly or a 5-year vision, we got to start somewhere. And you're currently in the role. So you got to start having results for your job. So what I want you to do is think of projects that align with your vision and stretch your skills to help you grow. And I would set primary goals for the year that drive momentum, that get you like super excited to get up in the morning and execute. Of course, we don't always just like hop out of bed like the Energizer Bunny and like, oh my God, I love it here. Not every day is like that. But just in general, when you get to working on the projects, you're like, this is really cool. I'm excited for this. This is going to really help us. And you want to ensure that each step in your roadmap or the projects really contribute to your elevated 5-year vision because small actions compound into major progress over time. So don't pick projects that are like, I'm going to like revamp this entire program in 1 year. Pick smaller projects that if you did these things, it would make other areas of your work easier. And pick some cool things that like you're personally invested in that you feel like you could do work. And then if you're on a team and you have others working for you, pick some things that you feel like they're going to be excited about, pitch it to them, get them excited to do different parts, see how you can support them better. When they see you jazzed about something, they get excited. So let me give you an example. When I was feeling kind of like last year, I had my third baby, so I was out for a bit. And then we also did another computer upgrade. I was like, cool, cool. Like it went, everything during the year went really well. I had my leadership development university as like a pet project that I had on the side. Everything was going well. And I started thinking about 2025 and I was like, this feels like a year of sort of leveling up. I had a new boss, things were different. I'm on a different team. I'm seeing what others are doing. So it's kind of a cool opportunity to just like think about a refresh. So my leader actually let me take a couple days to create a vision and a roadmap. And one of the things I did was just like brain dump a list of projects, like 20 projects plus that I want to do that were aligned with the values that I set and with like a 5-year vision. And then I pitched these to my teams and different people that I work with and like, what would be the priority for you? And at the end of the day, one of the big projects we want to work on was just clarifying an existing policy that we had. And when I started digging into this policy, I found that we had a lot of waste in our system. And what I realized is if we clarified the policy, we could reduce the amount of errors by a huge amount. Like unintended consequences of this policy, if we fix those and clarify those, we can actually make things higher quality for patients, for nurses, for our techs. Like it's going to all around elevate the work that we do because the things that we would change would increase safety and quality, while the clarifying part was going to reduce waste. So, this project, honestly, was one that I was scared about because it's a big deal. And so it's been on my like bingo card, I guess I would say, for like the last couple of years to try to figure out what to do. And this year, the timing just felt right. And it was one thing that I can say that once we do this thing and we clarify it and we make progress, it's going to make all the other projects that we want to do so much easier. So now I am just like super jazzed about this project. And I've made a lot of strides already in the year working with my team on how, getting approval for it, how we would do it, looking at workflow. Once it's executed and in place, it's going to make everything easier. So again, like it's going to ensure that this step elevates our 5-year vision and makes everything possible. So build that roadmap with exciting projects. And if you want to know how to build a strategic project roadmap and active project list, I will link in the description and the show notes my recent episodes on how to do that. And also, if you join the community, my webinar for how to create a roadmap that has like a visual showing you how I do it in Excel is there for you for free if you join the community. So just want to put a plug in for that. All right, step number 5, the last step, is pitch your vision and roadmap to your leader. You want to frame this conversation as a win-win for you and the company. And you want to ask for specific support, whether it's mentorship, new responsibilities, training, exposure to new areas, whatever it is that you discovered you're lacking or you need more of in order to elevate yourself, your position, and get you excited about your work. You want to keep your boss engaged with your career growth so that they can become an advocate for your success. When they see that you're investing time and energy and just like rejuvenating your work, they're like, oh, wow, they are committed. I need to support them. They're going to be a runner on my team. They're going to be somebody that helps me, elevate my work. Why wouldn't they want to support you? So just let them know like, hey, I'm sort of spicing this up. I'm reimagining what's possible for me. I'm trying to elevate the work that I do. I'm trying to think bigger than think beyond tasks and more on the spirit of my role and the purpose that it's meant to do. And I'm looking to elevate it in this way. Can you help me? Can you give me feedback on that? Is that aligned with the organization's vision? And they're going to be so excited to see you taking initiative so that they don't have to own that part. They don't have to nag you about your goals or say, like, here's kind of what I'm thinking for the same old goals. No, you're going to come to them proactively and energized, and it's going to get them excited in you. And therefore, you're going to be excited too because they're going to be right with you on your team. All right. So, just some closing thoughts. I just want to give you some encouragement. Change doesn't happen overnight, but I will tell you, small little shifts make a huge impact over time when you start to flip your mindset about the work that you do. Think about the spirit of a role, think higher level, think bigger than you ever have. You are going to be so excited to show up for your work. This is kind of a seasonal thing. Like I said, all of us kind of go through a lull, and I just want to give you that metaphor of the seasons. In winter, we do kind of have to like hibernate so that we have the energy to like rebirth and grow and like sprout in spring and then have that energy to run in the summertime. And so taking those couple days to really like plan and strategize, turn inward and slow down is huge so that you can run later. So don't think like, okay, today I'm going to do like a 180 and like flip this role on its head. Like go slow, be thoughtful so that you can go fast later. If you put in energy and time to like thinking and like processing and reflecting on paper, that's going to give you that like confidence as you're moving forward to know like this is the right thing. So not every season is a sprint. It's not sustainable. So it's okay to have these times at the beginning of the year when we're like planning and strategizing and really thinking. If you listen to past episodes, you know, like I've been sick. I've had influenza for like the last 2 weeks. And today I finally feel like mostly better, but my, my voice is not wholly back. But like for a minute there was like, gosh, I lost like 2.5 weeks. Like this sucks. But then I was like, guess what? Like, no, I had all these plans in place and they kept going while I was sick. And that like turning inward just gave me the extra excitement and energy to jump back in. It is not too late, my friends. It's only mid-February. We have plenty of time to execute on goals for the rest of the year. I hope some of these tips helped you. And I'm excited because I'm working on a special project incorporating more in depth on all of these topics. And I'm going to be sharing more about what that is soon, but I just wanted to tease that out there. I cannot wait. So if you are looking for more guidance to fall back in love with your career, to get more organized at work, definitely make sure you're subscribed to this podcast or join the free community so you don't miss anything from me. All right, I will see you next week with another episode. Until next time, take care.